So we watched the Ed Gein documentary, Monster on Netflix. Now, there's a couple of these. There was one about the Menendez brothers, and there was one about Jeffrey Dahmer. And the Dahmer one was the first one, right? Because I remember around this time last year, we were covering the Menendez brothers one. And I told you exactly what I'm about to tell you in a couple of seconds here. But so we watched it. And as we're watching this, about halfway through the first episode, I'm like, oh, the trannies are going to be up in arms about this one, which, is better than up on the ceiling fan, I guess. So it's a step in the right direction for them. But they're going to be up in arms about this because Ed Gein was a cross-dresser. Now,
Why do you keep calling me Bill?
He was Bill. Turn it into Lenore. But so I Googled it. I Googled Monster Ed Gein transphobic, and sure enough, it's just, because I'm old, I don't use ChatGPT, I use Google. Sure enough, it's just riddled with it, right? With talk about how it's dangerous for trans women and blah, 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 blah. Here's the thing, guys. Nobody, and I mean nobody, that watched that series, Monster, the Ed Gein story, saw that, got done with it, and went, man, I got to go beat the shit out of the first troon in sight. That was the response, the reaction of absolutely nobody. Nobody in the audience in this supposedly horrible transphobic society we live in watched the Ed Gein biopic and went, I got to go beat the shit out of a trans woman. But what?
Oh, no. Continue.
But evidently, a whole bunch of trans women saw a necrophiliac serial killer who wore his victims' skin as costumes and went, this is clearly about me. That's the divide right there. If maybe the problem isn't people's reaction to it, maybe the problem is that you relate to that guy. Have you considered that? What were you going to add?
I was going to say that show is more dangerous to people like me who they try to manipulate and humanize him.
Yes.
So that show's a lot more dangerous to people like me who was crying in the last episode when he died.
And then you found out it was all a lie.
Yeah.
And that's actually the bigger point I wanted to get into. So we see, and I had a post on the show's Facebook page about this because it was on my mind fresh and I wanted to write something real quick. And, but we see this every year, it seems like now. And it's not every serial killer biopic, right? You'll see, like the John Wayne Gacy one did not humanize him. They did a good job with that one. Is that a Hulu?
Peacock.
You don't have your mic.
Peacock.
Oh, okay. That one wasn't as bad. But we're starting to see more and more of this, where they will take someone who did something bad, who killed somebody, and they will try to humanize them. We saw it first with Gypsy Rose Blanchard, then they did the Menendez brothers, and now we're seeing Ed Gein. And it seems like every year they just slightly up the severity of what the person did to see just what they can get you on board with. I said this a year ago. I said I don't like this Menendez brothers thing because it's all a psyop to see what they can get you on board with. What can they get you to go along with in terms of what you'll justify, in terms of how can they gaslight and manipulate you? Because that's the thing. It started with Gypsy Rose Blanchard and people made the excuse, well, her mother was abusive. She had no choice but to lure that mentally handicapped guy that she met on the internet down to her house, provide him with the weapons, and then come up with a premeditated plot to kill her mother in her sleep. She had no choice but to do all that. And then we get the Menendez brothers, and their parents were abusive, but there was a little bit more gray area on the Menendez thing. And now here we are at Ed Gein. What they're doing is they're graying the line. They're blurring the line of when violence is excusable or even downright acceptable. And that's not stopping at media because, like I said, it goes one step further with each series, right? Like I said, it was Gypsy Rose and then, someone who had an abusive parent. And then now we're at a point where they're trying to humanize a chainsaw-wielding necrophiliac. And it worked. It worked. People all over the country felt bad for Ed Gein. And that bleeds over into our politics. If they can get you to gray the line on when violence is acceptable with serial killers, you're damn right they're going to get you to do it with everything else. Look at the Charlie Kirk thing. That's a perfect example of it. Gypsy Rose was justified in killing her mother because her mother was abusive. Ed Gein was justified in being a serial killer because he was schizophrenic and his mom was a bitch. So was mine. I'm not a serial killer. But now, Charlie Kirk is the shooting him was justified because he was right-wing. He was a fascist. He was pro-gun. Do you see how this works? Do you see how they just continue to tiptoe slowly? You give these people an inch and they take a country mile. This is a mass media psyop, 110%. There's no doubt in my mind. This is the furthest it's gone with the Ed Gein thing, because it's like, at least with Gypsy Rose and the Menendez brothers, there were some elements of truth to it. They lied. Go back and watch the series and then go look it up, right? They lied about so much shit in this series. So much shit they just made up in this series. He didn't help them catch Ted Bundy. His girlfriend, or he didn't have a girlfriend. He wasn't as slow as they made him sound. His mother wasn't as bad as they made her sound. There were some elements of it that were just totally fake to make you feel like Ed Gein was just misunderstood. And that's the game plan. You know, you're sitting there at the end and they made it seem like he was remorseful of his crimes. He never once expressed remorse for what he did. Look it up. I did afterwards. I'm watching it. I'm like, how much of this is true? And then I turn out, it's like 70, it's like, not 70, I'd say about 40% bullshit. All of this. That's what this is about, guys. If you watched that series and you found yourself sympathizing with Ed Gein, that means the psyop was working. Now, I hope I just woke you up to it. But at the end of the day, you need to reevaluate, and we need to be more considerate with the types of media we consume, because this is going to become more and more prevalent. We have elites that are pulling the strings in this country that want to encourage violence. They want to see more division. They want to see more chaos and anarchy. And the best way to do that is to get you to blur the lines of when violence is acceptable. And that's what they're doing right there. It's also, I mean, if you want to go the religious perspective with the globalists, I mean, this is very much a push for moral relativism. Moral objectivism just says, hey, murder's bad. Moral relativism says, well, the context in which the murder occurred matters. That's the difference. Moral objectivism is a strictly Christian or Judeo-Christian belief, right? It comes from, hey, God created the universe. God has decided what's right and wrong. It is objectively wrong to kill somebody. But when you go to the secular belief of moral relativism, you go, well, you know, that Charlie Kirk guy, he got shot and that's illegal and wrong. But did you hear what he was saying on those YouTube videos? Maybe he had it coming. That's moral relativism. Like I said, guys, if they can get you to sympathize with Ed Gein, if they can get you to feel that maybe this guy was misunderstood and I kind of get why he did what he did, there's nothing they can't make you do. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming.